3 dandelions were planted on the sidewalk. A man in a suit, seen from behind, sighs. He thinks about how, without the key, even opening the door, he will achieve nothing. With a pensive look, Kronos questions about obtaining the nectar. Another man states that the 7-star society is already in action. Then, with a serious expression, he asks if Gaia and another individual will not speak on the matter. Kronos inquires, "So what?" The man in the suit reflects that, regardless of whether they speak or not, it's none of his business. Zeus apologizes, hearing Kronos assert that to achieve great deeds, some sacrifices are inevitable. The man in the suit walks away, leaving Zeus behind, and thinks about how foolish Gaia continues to prattle on about ideals. He continues walking, stepping over the dandelion. Kronos walks, while in the background, flames and destruction engulf the city. He then says that he is not a fool like the others, and that he will be the one to become the master of that world. The scene shifts to a memory of Kronos, showing a photo of his family, his parents, his younger sister, and himself. Immediately after, the man is stained with blood. A man holding a pistol comments that he had wished things could have been resolved peacefully, and questions why they always have to be so complicated. He holds a gun firmly in his hand while asking a man named Yanagimoto if he doesn't agree. Yanagimoto, gravely injured, is lying on the ground. A woman tries to help him, calling out to him desperately. In fury, Yanagimoto curses Mizokami, who claims that he thought Yanagimoto was more understanding. Mizokami, with a cold and impassive look, is introduced as an executive of the 7-Star Society, head of the Australian Zero team. He asks about the goods, but quickly corrects himself, demanding to know the whereabouts of Yanagimoto's daughter, who fled with the recipe for the nectar. Yanagimoto, with a bloodied face and a defiant look, vows that he will not let Mizokami touch her. Mizokami, with a ruthless look, regrets not being able to show Yanagimoto's final moments to his companions. A hooded man, amidst a scene of a burning forest, is startled by the sound of a shot. This alerts him to the presence of a skill user among the enemy forces, encouraging him to act. The hooded man, called Yasha, is ordered not to give any opening to the enemies and to attack. He observes the situation carefully from above, while shots and explosions echo around him. Hearing a shot and seeing the bullet coming towards him, the man quickly ricochets it with his knife. One of the enemies warns the others about Yasha's arrival, describing him as an extremely powerful opponent at an advanced stage of abilities, and that they will not be able to defeat him alone. Yasha questions himself, feeling a sense of déjà vu as he runs towards his enemies. A devastating wave of energy emanates from Yasha, forcing the enemies to call for help to stop him. Unstoppable, Yasha advances at high speed, creating a whirlwind of wind and energy around him. He attacks his enemies with his dagger, moving with impressive speed. In a swift motion, Yasha dodges an attack, and using his incredible speed, positions himself behind the enemies, finishing them all. His eyes shone with intensity as he, enveloped in a powerful aura, had killed them all. As Yasha quickly approaches his target, he observes that one of the enemies, fortunately, does not seem to be an awakened. Enveloped in a golden aura, Yasha delivers a devastating blow with his knife, disarming both of them, while regretting not having killed him when he was vulnerable. Feeling the side effects of his powers, Yasha realizes he needs to end the fight quickly before his symptoms worsen. He delivers a precise blow to the enemy, who is impressed with his ear being struck, but Yasha overpowers him with more strikes, causing his enemy to retreat. Yasha then prepares a charged attack with his fist, but soon notices the energy of his opponent controlling the 2 knives that had been thrown into the air. The man with glowing red eyes comments that Yasha is as expected from someone called Yasha, but still a bit disappointing. Panting and struggling to stand, Yasha asserts that there is nothing to worry about, as that level of power is more than enough. The outcome becomes unknown, as we are transported to a sort of dream. 2 divine figures discuss the boy. One of them questions if he truly believes the boy can become the key. The other figure, with a confident look and a slight smile, reassures her, stating not to worry, as destiny will guide him. The scene changes to inside a plane, where a young man, with a tired expression, reveals that since returning to Japan, he has been feeling dizzy and wondering if it was a dream or a memory from a distant past. He observes the landscape through the airplane window, questioning what the key might be with a bad feeling about it. In a dark room, a man opens a wooden door, recalling that he used to frequent that place with his father when he was a child. He wonders if the place has been unused since then. Entering the dusty room, he observes the path to the hideout and comments that the place still emanated the same aura as before. Thoughtful, he questions what might have happened while he was away. Determined, he decides to contact his parents first, as they must be, Worried, he grabs his cell phone, wondering if it would still work. On the screen, a message from Aki Kuniyama informs him that his uncle's company is in trouble. Various messages and missed call notifications from Aki, dated months ago, reveal her growing concern for the young man's whereabouts and the severity of the situation. A wave of shock runs through his body as he reads Aki's message, sent in March, informing him that his uncles had passed away. Stunned, he grabs the photo on the table. With his heart racing, he speaks about his uncle's deaths and that May is also missing. The image of the happy family shatters, reflecting the young man's emotional state. He receives a condolence message, informing him that they couldn't reach his family and that they can't release the bodies without their consent. The final message confirms the deaths of Chiho Yanagimoto and Eriko Yanagimoto, the young man's parents. He collapses in tears, consumed by the pain of having lost his entire family. Amidst the pain of loss, the young man grabs a bottle of sake and pours it into a small cup. He watches the full cup, his thoughts distant. In a moment of despair, he murmurs while fixing his gaze on the cup. Fury begins to consume him, his tearful eyes reflecting his growing anger. A roar of pain and rage escapes his lips as he scratches the floor forcefully. Blood drips from his injured fingers, but he seems not to feel the physical pain. Raising his face, now stained with blood and tears, he vows to find those responsible for his parents' deaths, promising to avenge them at all costs. His red, furious eyes reveal an unwavering determination to seek justice with his own hands. The story shifts to a modern metropolis, with a narrator describing how on bad days, nothing goes right, no matter what you do. A young woman, Aoi Miyahara, a reporter for World Channel No. 1, complains that her weekend plans started to fall apart as soon as the day began. She questions the rush regarding an article and, grumbling, rushes out of the house, remembering that she needs to reserve her seat. At the bus platform, she sees a sign that reads, "Sunday Destination Tokyo," and realizes that, being the last day of the long holiday, all seats are sold out. Relieved, she celebrates having managed to reserve the last seat. Inside the bus, she sits and complains about her bad luck when she notices who is sitting next to her. She observes the young man, with dirty clothes and smelling of alcohol, questioning what's wrong with him and concluding that he seems to have been drinking all night. Annoyed, she complains that his clothes are dirty and he is dirtying the seat. Aoi covers her nose and face in disgust, silently wishing he would move away. Irritated, Aoi puts on her headphones to listen to music and distract herself. Sighing, she thinks it's the worst day possible. Looking at the young man next to her, she reflects that she thought she was having a bad day since the morning, but she didn't expect it to be this bad. Suddenly, a deafening crash jolts her from her thoughts. Frightened, she screams as the bus is engulfed in flames and smoke. Passengers cry for help, while others scream in panic. Amid the chaos, Aoi wonders what is happening. She watches in horror as passengers around her are injured and covered in blood. Stunned, she wonders if the bus has had an accident. The final scene shows the bus overturned on a slope under heavy rain. Trapped in the burning bus, Aoi desperately thinks she needs to get out as quickly as possible. She tries to unbuckle her seatbelt, but the mechanism is jammed. Finally, she manages to open the door, and in shock, the bus starts to fall off the bridge. She wonders if she will die like this while trying in vain to hold on. At the last moment, a hand grabs her and stops her from falling. Aoi looks at her savior, the young man who was sitting next to her, and realizes that it was thanks to him that she survived. Stunned and grateful, she stammers a thank you, while the man looks out a window to a safe place in the background. Aoi tries to thank the young man, but he interrupts her and throws her against the window, breaking it. She falls to the ground, moaning in pain. Confused, she asks what he is doing. The bus explodes, sending debris flying in all directions. Aoi shields herself from the impact and, terrified, thinks of the people trapped inside who might have died in the explosion. She looks at the burning bus and screams in despair, denying the tragedy unfolding before her eyes. The bus falls towards the sea. As the bus completely submerges in the dark waters, people gather on the edge of the bridge, watching the scene in horror. Someone shouts that the bus exploded and asks if an ambulance has been called. The road is then shown with more accidents caused by the crash. Aoi looks at the submerged bus, now just a shadow in the depths. In shock, she remembers the young man who saved her. She thinks in disbelief, denying the possibility that he survived. Desperate, she remembers the number of people on the bus, fear consuming her. Aoi, in a state of shock, thinks that everyone has died, just like that, without warning. Suddenly, a man shouts that there is a survivor. Aoi turns around and sees a young man emerging from the turbulent waters. A man and his son, watching the scene, exclaim in disbelief, questioning how anyone could have survived the explosion. The young man, coughing up water, clings to the wreckage of the bus. Aoi watches him in disbelief, murmuring that he is alive. She covers her mouth with her hand, shocked, as she sees the young man carrying an unconscious person in his arms. Aoi thinks about the need to alert as many people as possible about the situation. She grabs her cell phone, but quickly realizes there is no time to contact the company. Determined, she decides to broadcast the situation live, reminding herself to stay calm as she always does. The phone screen shows the recording starting and being sent to the network. Aoi starts her live broadcast, informing viewers that this is an emergency broadcast and that she, Aoi Miyahara, is reporting directly from the scene. She reports that a bus accident has just occurred on the highway and that a bus with many passengers has fallen off a cliff of approximately 30 meters. As the bus slowly submerges into the turbulent waters, she informs viewers that the bus, including the driver, had 46 passengers and had departed for Tokyo at 10:15 a.m. She continues the broadcast with a choked voice, informing viewers that the rescue team has not yet arrived and that the bus is about to completely sink into the sea. Suddenly, Aoi exclaims that, amidst all this, a hero has emerged to save the passengers in danger. She points to the young man, who emerges from the waters, and informs viewers that he was a passenger on the fallen bus. At the edge of the cliff, people watch in amazement and relief, commenting that he is coming back. The chat observes incredulously as the young man rescues the passengers one by one, bringing them safely to the side of the bus. Alone, he holds the seatbelts of several unconscious passengers. The young man looks for a safe place, then begins to take the passengers there. Aoi reports that he is taking everyone to a safe place while her cell phone vibrates with messages from her superiors. The team leader reprimands her for making an emergency broadcast without notifying them and questions what she meant by it. He complains that she didn't even inform him and that he thought she was on her way to the office. Aoi thinks that it was not the right time to broadcast an accident, but decides to seize the opportunity. She needs to provide all the information and send it to the office. Typing quickly on her cell phone, she justifies herself, saying that she doesn't have time to stop collecting information, but will explain as soon as possible. She types that the bus she was on, heading to Tokyo, had an accident, and that she cannot miss this opportunity. She asks to be connected to the server to broadcast. Meanwhile, in the channel's newsroom, the team leader was questioned by the girl about what they should do now. The team mobilized, preparing Aoi's live broadcast to go on air. The live broadcast by Aoi goes on air as she watches in disbelief the bus sinking deeper and deeper. She hears someone reporting, with a trembling voice, that the bus is turning and sinking. A woman, in panic, screams that her son is still trapped inside the bus. People around her try to calm her, but she becomes frantic, stating that the bus will sink and her son is still in there. A young man, in an act of bravery, dives back into the dark waters. On the surface, Aoi, shocked, exclaims that he is going back to the bus once again. His eyes shine with a supernatural intensity as he searches for the boy. Inside the submerged bus, the young man finds the unconscious boy. With a powerful movement, he removes the debris from on top of him, grabs him, and holds him firmly. As the bus begins to sink deeper, looking back, he sees more debris falling over the two of them. He protects the boy and takes him to the surface. Aoi looks at the spot where the young man submerged, worried that he has not yet returned to the surface. She wonders if he is trapped inside the bus. Suddenly, a powerful rumble echoes from the depths. People around wonder what that noise was as debris from the bus is launched into the air. The woman screams, horrified, that the bus exploded and that the people inside. She runs towards the cliff but is stopped by a man who holds her, begging her to stop. The woman, in despair, pleads to be let go and screams for God to save her son. The young man, exhausted, emerges from the water, bringing the unconscious boy in his arms. The mother, relieved, cries and thanks the young man, calling her son by name. The young man, tired, watches the scene as the woman hugs her son tightly. Aoi, still broadcasting, reports that the man risked his life to save the boy and that the child was successfully rescued and returned to his family. Aoi's broadcast goes viral, with messages from viewers praising the young man's bravery and questioning his identity. Aoi reflects on how a hero emerged from an extreme situation and that many passengers' lives were saved. The scene shifts to the arrival of rescue teams, and Aoi reports that once the rescue operation is completed, they will start the investigation and assess the accident's damages. The news of the accident dominates the day, with Aoi's coverage being widely publicized. While the media focuses on the tragedy of the bus accident, A new mystery emerges: the identity of the hero who saved the passengers. News about a mass collision involving 12 cars and a shooting between criminal organizations with a toll of 200 victims dominates the headlines. The media shifts its attention to the bus accident at Ozeki Pass, with reports questioning safety and social order. However, amidst the chaos and tragedy, a story of hope arises. An anonymous hero who risked his life to save the passengers from the burning bus. Society, which had already forgotten the importance of heroes, turns its attention to the mysterious man. Days later, Aoi is called into the newsroom and reprimanded for her reckless behavior in starting a live broadcast without authorization. Her superiors question her decision to start the broadcast directly from the accident scene without informing the team. Aoi tries to defend herself, explaining the gravity of the situation and the need to act quickly. She asks if they have any idea how worried they were about her, and they respond that they were concerned because she was involved in the accident. The team leader demands an apology letter later. Aoi argues that the broadcast was a great success and that an apology letter is enough. He then assigns her to write articles about the accident hero, as everyone wants to know his identity. Aoi thinks to herself that, now that she thinks about it, she wonders if that person is okay. As the rescue team took control of the situation, Aoi talks to one of the paramedics, who informs her that the hero suddenly disappeared. Aoi is concerned because she hasn't had a chance to thank him and thinks she might find him later, using an interview as an excuse. She believes that since he is a civil hero, he must be a good person. The scene shifts to Yasha, who makes a phone call from his cell phone. A man, surprised, exclaims that the civil hero is calling. Yasha reprimands him, asking him to stop with that nickname. The man asks if he doesn't like it and suggests the name Hiro Yanagimoto Ken, questioning if that nickname is okay. Kronos, serious, replies that he didn't call for a casual chat. The man, laughing, says he is joking and asks what he needs. Kronos responds that he is looking for someone. Back in the city, Aoi regrets suggesting the plan to find the hero, realizing that everything is false and that everyone is just pretending to be him, noticing an email. She calls her superior, referring to him as senpai, and tells him she needs to step out for a moment. He questions where she is going at such a busy time. Aoi ignores him and runs out of the office. The team leader calls her, asking if she is listening and asking her to finish her apology letter first. In the background, the email she had received was a photo of the hero she was looking for. Shortly after, Aoi was driving on a dark and deserted road, heading towards the location in the photo. While driving, Aoi answers a call. The caller introduces herself as Miyahara and confirms she's the person he contacted earlier that morning. She asks where they should meet, and he informs her it will be at the park cemetery office. Aoi confirms she's on her way. Arriving at the park cemetery, she encounters a man who approaches her, showing a photo of the hero on his phone and asking if he sent the image. She asks his name, introduced as Akiyama Takaru. The man recalls seeing him a few months ago dressed strangely, and after making offerings to the deceased, he bought a lot of alcohol and drank in front of a gravestone, the Yanagimoto family's gravestone. Aoi approaches the gravestone and realizes that's where he was. She recalls that the gravestone was erected around June, deducing it must have been shortly after the accident. She remembers the smell of alcohol and the muddy clothes, concluding that was the cause of his condition. Aoi asks Akiyama if he knows whose gravestone it is and who had it built. The scene cuts to a presenter still discussing the news about the search for the hero who appeared at the bus accident in June, describing him with messy hair, light brown jacket, white t-shirt, and gray pants, who saved many lives during the terrible accident. It's announced he would receive medals and rewards, and anyone providing information leading to his whereabouts would receive a 100 million yen reward. Yasha, walking down the street, thinks the people looking for him should have realized by now. He believes if possible he would destroy those criminal organizations, but at the moment his body isn't in the best condition. He mentions setting a trap so they would come after him, which would be safer for him. He thinks he has financial contacts and would need to give them a reason to come after him. Akiyama suggests that if he did that, he might find clues about Mei. He wonders if he remembered correctly if there was something nearby, but his thought is interrupted when he hears a cry for help. Yasha looks back over the city from a high point, grateful he allowed himself to be found. The scene shifts to a group of men in suits among some cars. They discuss the events of the previous night, revealing they drugged and sold a woman out of boredom. One admits to going too far that day while in the background. Another suggests a second round, to which one agrees, urging him to hurry up. A woman lies on a sofa. The group's leader claims they're kind people because they have so much fun with women like her. The scene ends with a close-up on the leader's face, sporting a sinister smile. The leader warns the woman that thing is expensive. The woman, with a disgusted expression, groans in disgust, and the man retorts that obviously it's not free. One of the men asks who was approaching, while the leader holds the woman by the neck. The other men, surprised by Yasha's sudden appearance, move closer to each other to intimidate him. Yasha, observing the man with the woman, comments that those guys are really trash. He continues, saying that for scumbags like them who live like bastards, it seems they can't live without satisfying their desires. He approaches threateningly, questioning if they are cowards. The man in front of him, enraged, shouts at Yasha, asking what he said. He punches Yasha, accusing him of taking advantage of the situation while he was quiet and threatening to tear his mouth apart as he continues to try to punch Yasha, who only dodges while listening to the man scream for him to die. The others watch the scene, laughing. One of them comments that Yasha is an idiot and feels sorry for him. The furious man asks Yasha where his spirit from earlier went, and why he didn't say anything while threatening to punch him again. Yasha interrupts, easily holding the man's fist, beginning to squeeze it, making the man scream in pain, while the others watch, terrified and surprised. Another man behind Yasha tries to attack him, but he kicks the aggressor, who is thrown backwards. Yasha watches the other men around him and justifies himself, saying they attacked first and he would act in self-defense. Yasha then demonstrates a cold and frightening smile on his face. Yasha questions himself, saying they started the fight and wonders if it wouldn't be self-defense. Irritated, one of the men asks if Yasha wants to scare them, saying he's just a kid, advancing, while one of the men orders them to kill him quickly. Yasha smiles defiantly, while another man moves forward to attack him. They then start fighting. One man tries to hit Yasha, but he dodges and counterattacks with a precise blow, throwing him to the ground. One of the men, wielding a knife, orders Yasha to die, but he dodges and grabs him by the face, throwing him into the other men, making a strike. Elsewhere, the remaining men in the group wonder what's going on and comment that someone is causing a commotion, complaining about the noise. One of the group, annoyed, orders the shadow to handle the situation, and one of the men confirms he understands. He remarks that the guy seems tough. Back to the confrontation, the man, incredulous seeing Yasha with everyone else knocked down around him, asks who he is. Yasha replies that he's just a civilian passing by who came to see what was happening because the noise was loud. He warns him not to think he's tough just because he's done a few things wrong and threatens him, saying if he wants to live long, he better stay quiet. Enraged, the man attacks Yasha, but he dodges the blow and hits him with a powerful kick to the ribs and then grabs him by the face. Yasha, with a menacing look, readies his punch and then hits the man forcefully, throwing him back towards the group, knocking him out. One of the men wonders who that guy is. Another man grabs a bottle, telling him to die. They advance towards the man who swiftly strikes them all down easily, looking at the fallen and unconscious men with disgust and disdain. Yasha notices a speeding car approaching him from behind. The driver, with an expression of rage, curses Kronos and tries to run him over, shouting for him to die. Yasha steps onto the car, stopping it. The driver bangs harshly against the windshield, and Kronos watches with a malicious smile. He grabs the driver by the shirt collar. Yasha throws the driver backwards, causing him to fall to the ground, groaning in pain. The panicked driver pleads for forgiveness, promising to never do it again. Yasha, with a cold look, tells him not to worry, as he won't kill him. The woman slowly opens her eyes, wondering where she is. Yasha observes and asks if she's finally awake. Confused, the woman asks who he is. Yasha tells her to be quiet, saying it will all be over soon. He looks at the driver, who is kneeling on the ground, and asks if it's true. Yosuke-kun. He orders Yosuke to hand over his phone. Trembling with fear, Yosuke obeys. Yasha takes the phone and approaches the man, asking if his name is Yosuke Maeda. Terrified, he confirms, stuttering. Kronos asks Yosuke what his father does, planning to use this information to further his investigation. Hesitant, the man replies that he is a member of parliament. Yasha thinks everything so far matches his investigation. He asks Yosuke if his father knows what he's been up to. Yosuke remains silent as the man dials a number on Yosuke's phone, calling his father. Yosuke's father answers the call, furious, asking where Yosuke is and if he knows what time it is. He curses Yosuke, calling him an idiot and asking if he's causing trouble again like last time. Yasha asks if Maeda, Yosuke's father, who asks who is speaking. He says he needs to fill him in on the things Yosuke is involved in, revealing that Yosuke was caught for drug possession and is also involved in several crimes of assault, rape, and violence. Yasha continues, stating that Yosuke was caught red-handed for drug possession and that a prison sentence of at least 10 years is inevitable. He adds that they also have solid evidence from the cameras of the luxury cars parked there. Yosuke's father, perplexed, asks what he means and if he is from the police. Yasha replies that he is just a passerby. He tells Yosuke's father that Yosuke and his friends subjected him to violence, and that he will need to receive compensation for Yosuke's friends attacking him first, with a cruel smile, asking Yosuke if he was right. Yosuke's father, in shock, questions whether that is true. Yosuke, embarrassed, apologizes to his father. Yasha continues her conversation with Yosuke's father, revealing that they also have footage of him trying to run him over while driving drunk. He comments that the next victim was close to him and that he could testify if necessary. Yosuke's father, desperate, begs them to meet and talk about how much money he needs. Yasha demands 100 million yen and a written promise that he will not harm the victim. Yosuke's father, in disbelief, asks if he is joking. The man, with a cold smile, tells him to forget about other things and focus on the money, threatening to broadcast everything live at that moment. Yosuke's father then proposes 50 million. Yosuke's father tries to argue, but Yasha interrupts him, saying that they will start immediately and that he should give the story a title. He threatens Yosuke, saying that he won't escape from that either. Yasha explains that a man of his position can easily leak information to the media or television stations, and that if an ordinary person has proof and reports him, he will not be taken seriously. He concludes that this is the fastest way. Kronos presses Yosuke, saying that he has been nothing but a burden to him, and demands an answer. Yosuke's father relents, promising not to involve them any further, and that he will provide the money. Yosuke's father continues, saying that the money will be delivered in $100 bills without tracking. Yasha, happy that they finally understood each other, says that there will be a meeting the next day at 6 a.m. He says goodbye, throwing the attacker's cell phone on the floor in front of him, apologizing for the delay. He addresses the woman and says that he knows she wants to go home soon, but that if she goes now, she will have nightmares for the rest of her life. The young-looking woman, with dark hair and eyes, is shown in close-up, conveying a facial expression of profound confusion, being told by Yasha that she must face her fear so that it can be eliminated. In the next frame, a man in a black suit and tie gets out of a car. Yasha, still talking to the woman while things were happening, advises her to solve the day's problems on the same day. A man in a suit hands her a briefcase full of money. The woman in the lab coat takes it, and then the scene shifts to the woman from the first frame, now visibly scared, looking at the briefcase in her hands and wondering what's happening. In shock, she deeply thanks the man. Curious, he asks who she is, and if she spoke to the man in the lab coat, adding that he doesn't need thanks and didn't help out of goodwill. Despite his response, the woman insists he's a savior to her. The mysterious man, hidden in shadow, tells her she's mistaken, that he's just passing through and she should forget what happened. In the last frame, focused on Yosuke's father's clenched fist, he curses, showing frustration. Yosuke's father, furious, vows not to let it pass, and fears his political career might be threatened because of the scandal. He calls Mizukami, ordering him to take care of a man using any means necessary. He offers 50 million yen in cash as a reward. Mizukami, intrigued, asks if some thug picked a fight with him, and expresses interest in hearing more. He smiles maliciously, planning to have fun with the situation,